Thank you for being here, man. Thank you.
Yeah.
We've been listening to your music like crazy. I mean, we just played like the first two singles from your next album, and honestly, I cannot wait to hear the whole thing because I'm so curious. The first two songs are just awesome, and it's I tell you, the first time I heard, I listened to 𝗙𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗧𝗪, I was like, okay, let's listen to this. Okay, it sounds nice. It's folky. It's kind of indie folk, and I like it. But then the second half of the song happened, and I was in tears. I was moved. It was like, Jesus, this is so intense. It's so moving. It's heartbreaking in a way. And I didn't know anything about the story. I didn't know that Mandy was a part of it. I didn't know about the lyrics. I was just moved by the music, and I was moved by the voice. Because at first I thought, okay, he sounds a bit like Dylan. But then Dylan doesn't sing like you do in the second half of the track. And I was very amazed by that. I mean, you put so much meaning into your music. And it's beautiful. Like I fell off the chair like you do in the video. So it's it's really great. So honestly, this long introduction just because I wanted to show you how appreciative I am, and I'm grateful to your music because it really moved me. To me, it's a classic. That track, it's a bloody classic. So I want to ask you. I read that. Basically, you and a bunch of friends were watching a movie, Mandy, that I haven't seen. I haven't seen that movie, so I don't know anything about it. I only read a synopsis of that movie. And so what happened? What happened after you watched it?
Well, I was living in this house with a bunch of painters in Colorado, and we watched the film, and I don't know, something just kind of came over me, and we had this basement down there where I would play, so it wouldn't disturb the neighbors or anything when I would do the screaming and all of that. And I just wrote the song in like, half hour or so and tucked it away. Cause that was a couple of years ago. We watched that movie right when it came out in like 2018.
Yeah,
so
2018. Yeah.
I just tucked it away, and then, had the vision of what I wanted to do for it. And once my producer, Brandon Darner, and I got together, we just kind of, figured it all out of what we wanted to do. But, like a lot of the songs that usually work for me are pretty much written in that time. They don't take longer than an hour to write just because it feels like I'm tapping into something. And then I just kind of let the thing do its job. And I can't, it's hard to explain, but I don't really consciously write songs when that happens. It's kind of like a bit of magic or something.
Well, it was magic in that song for sure. After reading about the story of of Mandy, and then I understood why you were tied up, and I found you more expressive than Nicolas Cage, but I'm sure you're a big fan of Nicolas Cage and you won't accept my my critique to the actor. But no, I actually like Nicolas Cage, but I really love the way.
Great.
Yeah, he's great. Of course he is. His Class A actor is no joke. But apart from that, it's really that second part that moved me, and I found the same kind of scheme in These Dark Days. Because that's what you do. I mean, you take it to the next level. You start quiet, and then it's like there's this huge monster within you that comes out, and you release it. You let it go. You let it out. And I couldn't find any of this in Andy Warhol's Dream, in your first album. So is there something going on in your life? Is it something going on in your music that you're trying to achieve or change?
Well, I mean, I just think I became more confident as a singer for sure, like over the recording of this new batch of work. But I think that that there's probably something that's come out in the songs that feels like a bit of pent up emotion or aggression or something. Because this record, to get it done and everything, took way longer than I wanted it to. So like in a way, time kind of changed the character of how my songs are and everything. And now I just feel like, you know, on this whole as a record as a whole, there's a whole lot of this kind of like push and pull of, you know, just kind of attack and release in a way. And so it just kind of matches, I think, how I felt over the past couple of years, probably, of just having fits of emotion and then being really exhausted from that, and then having this period of just kind of, you know, rumination before the next fit or whatever. So it kind of seems like almost epileptic or something in a way. But it's really hard to put into words. I mean, you know, it's a music is a whole medium that's wordless in a lot of ways. And so I don't know, like when I just write the songs, it just turns into this thing where, with the newer stuff, it's a lot of just a cathartic pouring out, where I feel like the earlier stuff was, I don't know, maybe a bit more playful in a way. It was a little bit younger and had some more hope or something. I can
see that. Yeah, I can see that. I can see that. There's, but actually, it's quite a move of maturity to go from a first album, which you might call light, or I don't know, youthful, or just happy, to a second album, which I haven't heard, of course, like no one else but you has, which is so differently intense. Like it's like you're more mature, and it's like you have so much more to say. So I'm gonna ask you, On Account of Exile, Volume 1. That's a title of your new album.
Yeah.
How many songs are there gonna be there? And can you make us a synopsis like we do with movies, like I read in the case of Mandy, of the album? Can you kind of make a preview of that?
I mean, it's 9 tracks. It's kind of a cut from the cloth of like probably 4 years of songwriting or so. And, I don't know. There's a lot of things that are discussed in there between, it's tough to give like a synopsis to these kind of things, but I think,
how does it feel to you?
I think it feels, well, I mean, to me, it's like a load off my back.
Yeah.
I think it's like something it's very aggressive music, and it's kind of just about myself and people who are kind of like, in a way, on the outskirts, I guess. You know, something that has to do with people that it's not like a socioeconomic thing. It's people of any walk of life feel kind of backed into a corner, and they don't really know how to proceed with their lives. And so they feel kind of like trapped in a sense, and they don't know really what to do. And so there's kind of a sense of groping and hopelessness, and but at the same time kind of like a euphoric escape into a dream that could maybe never be realized. You know, is that good?
Oh, it is.
That's the best I can come up with.
And in a way, it kind of reminded me of the concept of Andy Warhol's dream. You know, those 15 minutes. Probably you feel entrapped. You feel like you're stuck in a life that you want to change, and then you don't hope in glory, but you hope in like 15 minutes of glory. That might be good enough. So in a way, it kind of reminded me of that. But I'm sure it's different. It's a different album. I'm sure it's going to be a different album from that one.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's, you know, Andy was kind of a reaction of being swept up into this industry and being tossed around and chewed up at it in a sense.
Yeah.
And, you know, I've really honestly been out of the industry since like 2017. You know, I haven't really been in it. I dipped out and kind of just roamed around the middle part of America and wasn't really doing anything with myself. I would be writing here and there. I tried to stop writing for a bit, but eventually, you know, the songs came again, and I spiritually couldn't, you know, say no to that. And then I got fortunate enough to kind of reconnect with Brandon Darner. We've been separated through a bunch of business BS, and you know, he gave me an opportunity to kind of breathe life into those songs again, because I was kind of going in a direction of like, if I couldn't properly record the songs and stuff, I didn't really know what the point of writing songs was, because instead of being a release, it was more kind of a depressing reminder of failure and things like that. So, you know, the character schemes behind this new stuff is more people that I ran into along the way, and, you know, between, you know, a trailer park I've stayed in, or you know, a painter commune in Colorado, or people I've ran into like from that I grew up with 10 years later that I haven't seen, and where they are in life and stuff. You know, so it's very outside of that entire world that I was wrapped up in for about like 2.5 years or something. And, you know, I think that those characters still appear from afar within the new stuff, but it's not as intimate, and it's not, you know, it's kind of like I'm not in Andy's factory kind of thing anymore. I'm kind of on the street,
Yeah.
and just roaming around by myself and bumping into people that got to work at the shoe shop and stuff, you know. So
I got a
that's kind of what the experience
zillion
has
questions about the album, and so I just hope to
been. Yeah.
remember all of the things that I need to say, because I never write anything. I just go with the flow. But where do you live now? Do you still live in Sterling?
No, I mean, I was living in a place called Des Moines, Iowa for a bit. I was
Yeah.
living in Colorado for a bit. Now I kind of live in between towns, on this riverbank, into another trailer park, because it's just dirt cheap to live out of a trailer. And you know, it's a pretty rural community that I'm in now. So I'm not really, I don't know. I've never really liked cities that much. I like visiting them a lot, but I really just can't afford to live in cities. And I found I always got along better kind of in more desolate places. So I'm just kind of living out of a trailer right now.
I mean, I'm from Italy, so I didn't know much about Sterling. So I had to look it on the internet, and I saw that it's a 15,000 people kind of city. I saw that not many famous people came out of Sterling, so you might be probably the most famous one.
I don't know about that.
Well, you never know. You could be in a bunch of months. But I don't know what it was like to be there. But obviously, I could tell there's some kind of entrapment. There's a feeling of entrapment in your music. So does it have anything to do with being, you know, bred and grown up in a place like that?
I'm sure it's part of it. I mean, you know, the cliche is true for a lot of small town American people, or even small town people of the world. You know, you want to get out and expand your horizons and see the world and all this stuff. Some people don't want to, and you know, they're good with living in the same village their whole life, and that's fine and dandy too. I'm too restless for that. So, but there's just a lot of, I mean, I don't know, like the town and I have never really mixed. So I just kind of, they're like the nature parts of the town I really love. But everything else, like, I don't know. I just never seemed to vibe with it. It was
Because it's
always
like
just kind of like,
factories. It's factories downtown, and then in the outskirt,
yeah,
it's all land. It's right.
yeah, it's just cornfields after that. There's some forest parts that I would find that are good, but there, I mean, the thing is, like, I grew up in a time in that town when the manufacturing industry left the country. So, you know, we started importing more goods, and the price of steel went up too high for our town to compete, and so the mill went down. That's a brief synopsis of that. And so I saw when the recession hit, like in '08 or even just before that, I mean, I saw a lot of people lose their jobs, and I saw what happens to people when they lose their businesses and stuff, and the type of not only like financial loss, but some people, you know, completely, you know, spiral down into nothing and they become decimated. And so to see that is kind of terrifying, especially when you're young, because you just see sometimes how close people are to the edge. And it only takes a couple things to take all the, you know, wind out of your sails, and then they give up on life. And so I just, that's, you know, I just wanted to obviously get away from that and not get anchored down in that way, just because there's just other things that I wanted to do, and I just didn't want to be surrounded by that kind of desolation. You know, I wanted to get away from it, because it's tough to watch. You know, the town's doing much better now, but for a long time it was really rotting.
Trevor, how old are you today?
27.
You're 27. Do you make a living out of being a musician alone?
No.
So you have a second job. Yeah, you have the daytime job.
I do a lot of different things for money. So, you know, it depends. I don't have like a 9-to-5 gig. I've done various things to make ends meet. So
how do you deal with the interest? I mean, I'm a guy from Italy running a small community of music lovers from Italy, and you know, we're very much interested in you and your music, and I believe the same thing is happening elsewhere in the world. How do you deal with this? Like, do you feel like you could be on the verge of, you know, making a living out of this?
I don't know. I don't really think about it that way. You know, there was a time where I was making a living off of it, and it really didn't like resolve any of my like internal problems or anything. So, you know, like to me, it's like all I care about is just kind of getting the records done and being able to fulfill, you know, the ideas that I have in my head to full blossom. But I mean, you know, I'm not really concerned with size of audience or what's going on with that. You know, I mean, I as far as I can tell, very few people listen to the music, you know, so I just kind of,
oh, there will be more.
Don't really think about it.
I'm sure there'll be more, because I mean, we're on the other side of the world, and we do listen to your music, and we love your music. So it speaks to us, you know. Which is the most important thing. It moves us. I feel like, you know, sometimes I wake up and I want to listen to. I want to put 𝗓𝗪 Galactus and listen to it, because it says something to me. You know, it has a meaning. So it's I wouldn't. I would give it a chance if I were you, and I'm sure you are. But
I'm giving it a chance. Don't worry.
No, of course, you must be. You must do that. Back to your first album, Andy Warhol's Dream. You said that a lot had to do with having to deal with the music industry, with the music business, and probably feeling unhappy about it. I don't know. I'm just assuming. Your first EP, Texas Girls and Jesus Christ, which I think is awesome.
Thank you.
It's more stripped down. I found that there was a huge change of mood, of arrangement between that first stripped down. It was like Heart in Hands, you know, something like that. Kind of feeling with that album, And then the album itself, which was more produced and it kind of felt more happy. I kind of lost something that I saw in you in that first EP. But now I can find it back. In the new music, I can see that first EP again. Somehow, I can see that mood. I can see that energy. Were you happy with the final result of Andy Warhol's Dream? Was it the album that you wanted to pull out?
I think it's the record I had to pull out in the end. There was just a lot of meddling at the time from the industry and stuff, and I had to kind of keep hold of a vision of my work and balance that at the same time. And it was really tough because I was basically just trying to avoid an album getting shelved. And there was a lot of stuff that we recorded that did get shelved and stuff that wasn't my choice. And I got bumped around to a couple different producers. I think that there is just this desperation from the industry to get a hit right away.
Okay.
And I was not I think it's just not like a thing like it used to be, like with a Bob Dylan or say a Billy Joel or something like that, where artists are allowed to hone their craft and, build off of these songs that they make and everything and keep going. And I got just kind of sucked into this thing where, everybody was really just like, you need to give me a hit. You need to give me a hit. And I thought it paradoxical just because of with my voice and the type of thing that I do. This isn't going to be like an Ariana Grande thing. So I don't really know what the expectation was behind that.
But the Reaper Man performed well.
Yeah, but how can you tell when that's going to happen? That got a lot of backing from UK radio and stuff, and people still love that tune. But then High Beams became a big song for some people. But by the time the record came out, there was no backing behind it, so it really never got pushed, in my opinion. And what ended up happening is that record, to me, I'm happy with it. It's just super schizophrenic.
Okay.
Because it's something that is so just built on shorter sessions and just kind of experimentation. And it just turned into this thing that was so reactionary to like a year past in life, where I had a record that was built up from, multiple years of my life that I was going to discuss completely different things on it. And that got blown up. And so I had to, kind of basically write a second record on the spot in a way. And I did. And it was basically just a summation of like this kind of whirlwind I've been put through between 2015 to like 2016. And that was just kind of the result of all that. It's actually a much smaller snapshot of my life than, say, what could have been that first record. But that's just the way it goes. It happens that way sometimes.
So is this new album, this next album, a better snapshot of your life?
It's of a longer period, in reflection. But what's nice is that I didn't get pushed around. Like, it's the positive of failure is that I got to get back to ground zero, basically, with my producer, Brandon Darner, and we had the time to just kind of really experiment properly and take our time fine tuning a lot of these songs in the studio. So it's a more cohesive body of work in a production sense, but I also think that it's probably, it has a bit more of emotional depth to it, just because it's talking about like a whole 5-year period, or so. So, a lot of these songs have been written throughout, like the farthest one goes back to like 2016 or so.
Okay.
Because I have songs all the time. It just depends on what songs are going to fit together, you know.
Is it different is it different in terms of arrangements, in terms of how you arrange this, arranging the songs? Because to me, like the first two singles, they sound different. They sound more intense. They start quietly, like I said, and then they take over. You know, the musicians take over. Do you reckon there's a difference? There's a musical difference between the two albums?
Oh, definitely. I mean, their sounds. I think the first two songs have given kind of a snapshot of one type of sound, or two types of sounds that are kind of on the record. But there's other stuff. You know, I can say that there's going to be saxophones.
Oh, wow.
There's going to be angel choirs and more screaming and piano. There's a way more piano than what's been featured so far. And yeah, I mean, I think that I got to work with also one group of musicians as well. So there was a lot more, and we sat there in the studio for a while and like talked it through, where a lot of the Andy sessions were like, you're going to go in the studio for 5 days with this producer and you're going to bring us back a chunk of work, you know? And I did that like twice. And that's kind of the result of what Andy is. It's just a lot of the studio being like, you have no time anymore. And we're going to have you do this. And then we're just going to work with it. And then, you know, I mean, it was blowing a lot of money, and then not to promote it. It's just kind of like, I said, let's just put the money towards the record that's done. But, you know, nobody wanted to do that.
So you're kind of fast when it comes to songwriting, but you're slow when it comes to arranging the tracks. Is that what it is?
No, I think it just depends on who you're working with. I mean, like when I worked with Richard Swift and he did the songs like Stolen Boots and Andy Warhol's Dream, it was just him and I in the studio in his place, and we would work really fast. And it was just a wilder approach. Working with Brandon Darner he's kind of like a Stanley Kubrick kind of character. He's more methodical. I write songs really fast, and I would probably work faster than he would want to in the studio, but it's a collaboration in a lot of ways because I'm not the producer, I'm the songwriter. So I give artistic direction of where things go, but he's got his way of how he wants to put things together as well. And so we have our back and forth with that.
Are you happy with the outcome? Are you happy with the?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Does it represent you? I mean, is it what you wanted to write and how you wanted it to sound?
Oh yeah, totally. I mean, I think I've got to really fulfill some elements that I tried to do on Andy, but I had people around me who could help me realize those things more. And we had the time again, you know, so it takes time to get horn players in, you know, and it takes time to arrange strings like for 𝗙𝗧𝗏 Galactus and stuff. You can't just do that on a whim and expect everything to go well. So when you have the time and you have people that care, and you don't have a label over your back trying to push you around, you can get a lot of things done that you never thought were possible, you know. So I'm very happy with it.
Do you feel like Jack Jaguar will back you up more this time?
I'm not with them anymore. We separated.
Oh, you separated. Who's this album coming out with?
There's a newer label called High Black Desert Records.
Okay. I'm sorry, I didn't know about that. So sorry,
it's all right.
My bad. Okay.
No, you're good.
And you feel more positive about their involvement with the album?
Yeah, I mean, it's a way smaller operation. I mean, it was started by Brandon to do various projects that he produces and stuff, and he and I are more eye to eye on the artistic vision for my work, and so, you know, I don't have to deal with a bureaucracy. I deal with just a couple guys, and that's it, you know. So it doesn't feel so Kafka-esque anymore. Okay. Now it's like I know what's going on, and success or failure, at least I understand what's going on, more so than just not being told things or, you know, whatever. So
about the sound of your music, it sounds kind of vintage. I mean, the songs are folk songs, like written on guitar and sang by a guy who can sing. But in terms of sound and choice of instruments, the first album sounded kind of vintage. You know, it went back to 70s sounds or 60s sounds. Is that crucial to you, or do you care more about it being genuine?
Well, I wanted to be genuine no matter what. I don't think, I mean, you know, those sounds, it just depends on what's right for the song and who you're working with. When I worked with Jonathan Rado on a song like High Beams, he's a very 70s informed type of producer. That's what he listens to and what he likes to do. There are some sounds that I think are classic, like a B3 organ, which people would probably classify as 60s and 70s, but I think it's like, you know, a song like Refugee by Tom Petty sounds timeless, you know, even though and it's just because it's got a really simple sound and that B3 organ is backing it up. I like to play with all sorts of sounds. It just depends on who I'm working with and what I have at hand. My thing is I don't like infinite amount of variables. I like being limited by the equipment that I have and the people that I have, because otherwise you end up like these big bands or whatever that are just sitting there with all the money in the world and they can't get anything done because they just think they have to play with everything. And I've just got no time, money, or patience for that. I'd rather be like, this is the instruments that we have. This is what we're going to do. And this is the sound that we're going to try and create. So there's nothing, I don't really try to go into it being like, this is going to be a folk rock record or anything like that. It's all about listening to what the song requires. So if the song requires a saxophone ensemble, it will get one. If it requires piano, it will get one. If it requires double tracking the vocals, it will get that too. So it's just about listening to the song and understanding what it needs and trying not to do something that it doesn't want to do, you know.
Hope you can pardon my trivia question, but on the
Sure.
in the video of These Dark Days, you're reading a book. That book has your face on it. What book is it? Is it a fake book?
It doesn't have my face on it.
Oh, it's not you?
No, that's an interview book with Francis Bacon, the painter.
Oh.
That he did with David Silvestrin. And I was reading it at the time because Francis Bacon's my favorite painter. So I was just reading about, you know, reading his interviews with David Silvestrin and all the wonderfully dark things he had to say. And we shot the video and it's like, we'll just sit here surrounded by crap and you can read while we shoot this thing. And that's what I did. So
it's funny. We all thought it was you. I mean, there was such a resemblance in that. I mean, it's a tiny picture on a video, so we did obviously we couldn't be that spot on, but we really thought it was you. So we thought it was a fake cover of a fake book. In that case, I would have asked you what book was that.
No.
Just the title would have been very interesting. But good choice with Francis Bacon, obviously.
Yeah.
Trevor, thank you very much. I really wanna tell you that if you're gonna go live and if you're gonna go to Europe, which I hope you do at some stage, because I think a lot of interest comes from Europe. About your music. So I think you should give the UK a try and, you know, come visit us too. You'll definitely have a good gig if you came to Italy. So I really want to see you play live. I want to see what the dimension is. Are you going to be with a full band?
It just depends about the guys we have and the money, and also obviously the pandemic situation. Right now, like, for example, I mean, I'm just doing some solo dates in the States right now. And, you know, it's such a developing situation, you know, it's hard to say. I'd love to get over to Europe and the UK, in general, because I miss it. I haven't been there in like 4 years or so, but yeah, I mean, we'll see what is available to us, because it's pretty expensive to ship a full band over, but I'd love to do it if we can.
Even if you do it solo, just remember you have a fan base in Italy, small but loyal. So don't forget that.
Appreciate that.
Trevor, thank you very much. You've been really a superstar. Thanks a lot for your time, and good luck with the release of the album. When is the new single coming out?
I don't know. There's talk of dropping one more single before the record, but the record's out June 18th.
Yeah.
Either way. So we'll
Beautiful.
see.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Trevor. You have a good day.
You too. See you.
Thank you, man. Thank you.